Hello everybody, it's Connal Finlay here, the owner and director of the Cellar store down in New Zealand, and welcome to today's episode of the Cellar TV. So, today what we're going to be trying out is a rather exciting and fun little wine, something that we recently brought in ourselves, and this is from New York. And those of you that are familiar with the channel have probably seen a few of the videos before from this particular winery. You can probably tell because all the sort of labels are all quite minimalist and in that same sort of style. So here's a little close-up shot for you all at home. And so this is a Blaufrankisch. Well, it's Blaufrankisch predominant. It's actually 75% Blaufrankisch and 25% Dornfelder. And it's from Channing Daughters. Channing Daughters, of course, down in the, well, around the Hamptons area in Long Island. And as we've said it once, we've said it once before, and we've said many times before, we absolutely adore Channing Daughters. Generally speaking, we're big fans of we're big fans of all of their wines, but we're big, massive triumphs. And I've said it before, they are probably one of my favorite aromatic white wine producers in the world. And this is one of their red wines, if you didn't already tell that. As I said, so this is Blaufrankisch predominant with a little bit of Dornfelder. Some of you probably aren't very familiar with Blaufrankisch, and I wouldn't be surprised. But Blaufrankisch, what it is, well, red grape varietal, but it's an Austrian red grape varietal. Most often found in Austria, but it's also found in places like Hungary. There are tiny little amounts of it up in northern Italy as well, being planted up there. And those are some of the main places that Blaufrankisch is planted. I think a little bit might be sort of in warmer parts in Germany as well. But generally speaking, Blaufrankisch is going to be an Austrian or Hungarian red grape varietal. As with Dornfelder, that's also a sort of a German or Germanic Austrian sort of red grape varietal as well. So generally speaking of what Blaufrankisch you can always expect is quite a meaty sort of red wine, quite a full-bodied sort of red wine as well. There are lighter versions which are sort of Pinot Noir-esque, but definitely will sort of, if you're wanting to compare it to a common grape varietal, I'd sort of compare it to sort of a Syrah. Yeah, between sort of like a Syrah and a Montepulciano, that sort of juicy, big, quite spicy, quite earthy sometimes, quite leathery as well. Anyway, so let's have a look at this. Oh, and this is the 2013 vintage, by the way, from the Sylvanus Vineyard. They do have a couple of single vineyard Blaufrankisches, which are very, very cool. And this one is, as I say, from the Sylvanus Vineyard. Anyway, let's give it a sniff. So off the bat already, again, if you aren't familiar with the channel, or if you are, you'll always have heard this, so I do apologize, but we have decanted this about 2 hours previous to doing this particular video, because we're all about, well, I particularly am all about wanting to make sure you get the absolute best and all of the wine itself. You want to get all those aromatics when you're smelling and tasting and drinking the wine, of course. Anyway. So already we're getting a whole lot of these big brooding sort of plums, a lot of damson sort of fruit in here. There's this lovely sort of primary fruit base there, which again is sort of blueberries, a little bit of boysenberry. Some sort of dried red currants in there as well, which are lovely. But then again, all this sort of earthiness, this spiciness comes through. A little bit of licorice, a little bit of leather. I'm going to say a little bit of sort of coffee grounds. Some sort of dried or roasted sort of herbs and things like this as well. They're all coming through. And just a touch of sort of, what's that? That's sort of like a smoky note. Sort of like a smoked meat note. Very, very, very minuscule, very much in the background. But you see, you probably wouldn't have noticed that if you hadn't really decanted it out. So it's a hint from me to you, always decant your wine. Well, at least make a habit of it. But very, very plummy, very, very sort of that juicy red fruit. Anyway, let's give it a taste. So quite a juicy, rich sort of red wine, as I told you that we'd be expecting here. Very much a full-bodied sort of wine. Lots going on here. A lot, again, those sort of primary red fruit flavors are coming through. Lots of those red plums, that damson, that big juicy sort of plumminess is coming through. So it is sort of Merlot / Syrah-esque on the palate there, as far as the sort of textural component goes. Tannins, they're sort of medium to full, or medium to high rather, tannins, but there is this lovely sort of acidity which just trickles right through it. And again, like their white wines, Channing Daughters have succeeded again, believe it or not, in making a very, very well balanced sort of wine. The tannins there and the acidity structure are just so perfectly coming together with that really, really juicy and ripe Blaufrankisch fruit, which is really, really cool to see. There's a little bit of gaminess there, which is sort of coming through, sort of prosciutto, or other sort of, not really pastrami, definitely much more of that sort of salty, briny prosciutto sort of note coming through. But again, just sort of on the background there, and then you're getting a little bit of sort of coffee beans, a little bit of sort of vanilla, and all the rest coming through, but that sort of leathery, licoricey sort of note also comes through, definitely. And just going back to it now, you're definitely starting to smell a whole lot more of that on the nose. Sort of those, definitely that secondary sort of fruit aromas, and those secondary sort of oaky aromas, that sort of vanilla, that spiciness, those sort of dried herbs, again, those sort of licorice, leathery sort of flavors. So there's a lot going on here. But again, a lot of this is probably all as a result because we decanted it. If you'd sort of just opened it up, poured it into your wine and left it for 5 minutes, then you wouldn't be getting nowhere near as much sort of complexity. So it's fantastic. Anyway, so this has been the Blaufrankisch. It's their Sylvanus Vineyard, 75% Blaufrankisch, 25% Dornfelder from Channing Daughters in the South Fork of Long Island. Absolute love these guys. Absolutely love these guys. And this particular wine, indeed, we love this. So please do like away, comment away. Tell us if you've tried any of their other wines. If you love them, why do you? Well, which one of their wines in particular do you love? Do you love any other wines made from Blaufrankisch or from these guys or along all of the rest of New York State? Have you tried it? And all the rest, just let's start the dialogue, let's start the conversation going, eh? And please subscribe away, that's much appreciated from here, from everyone here, I should say, down in the Cellar team here in New Zealand. And please do share away with all your other sort of wine-loving friends and family, that's much appreciated. So I've been Connal, and we've been tasting with me today, and enjoy.